Here we are again, and just like that, reviewing, recapping the OG, the original Sex and the City. This time, we are now at season 2, episode 9, Old Dogs, New Dicks. And this one was written by Jenny Bix. Yep, I'm keeping track. There is a tone, there's a diff, there's an interesting concept. I'm beginning to tie those loose ends together that I never noticed before. That's why I'm enjoying doing this series. And listen, if you guys are really enjoying this, and I know many of you are, and I have my wonderful group of people who are actually commenting. I have new people coming in and making comments. The best way to support this channel, to support me continuing to do this for you guys, because we have a long haul. We're only on season 2. Do me a favor. Take the moment. Subscribe, like, comment, share, spread this out. The YouTube algorithm has its quirks, but it's you guys, the community, the beautiful community that I'm building here that really, really pushes this over. And I would love to be able to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So the best way so we can move forward and I can continue doing this and the status that I'm doing it in is for you guys to really spread the word. And for those who are watching that are not subscribed, subscribe. So let's get into it. This time, we're going to go through what I would call a very disturbing metaphor for Sharpay. How men constantly need to have a roaming eye. Guess which one is doing that? And how two different people from two different backgrounds and two different schedules try to make it work in a relationship. Because normally, this is a toughie when you're on completely different schedules. But this one was a good one. I did enjoy it. It brought to light a few things that were never talked about. But we talked about it with my friends. It's Friday night, 1999. My 2 girlfriends are here. Not now, but back then. So I'm not so putzo, okay? I do know that we're in the year 2025. It's almost the end of the year. So are you ready? If you are, they don't. As the scene opens, we hear Carrie narrating that New York City is known to have the most beautiful women in the world. Thank you. But to be fair, there's beautiful women everywhere, not just in New York City. So, I appreciated the compliment, but I've been around. There's beautiful women everywhere. So, as she notes that, it is very difficult for men not to be looking at them as we go through the myriad of men and construction workers who cannot keep their roaming eyes off these beautiful women who are walking. One of them so much so that almost, of course, because of this one, I mean, for real, do you see her? He almost flies into a taxi cab. I've seen that happen. Not to me, but then again, come on. Wouldn't you? For Carrie, as she narrates, she's very happy. She's seeing Big. But unfortunately, Big is still seeing everyone else, all the women. They're literally walking down the avenue and he is checking out a girl at a fruit stand. And I'm not talking about slowly gazing at her. He's like, yeah, baby. I'm like, darn. At the very minimum, can you at least keep it on the DL? Wear some shades. All the tricks you guys do, to make us pretend that you're not looking and we would stay in denial and we pretend that you haven't checked her out because we've already saw her 5 blocks away before you even noticed her. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I don't know about you, but I can spot a beautiful woman when I'm with my beau way before you even think that you noticed her. I've got them pegged out at least like ducks in a row. I'm like, that one, that one, that one, that one. So as she is pulling him away, the next scene we have is with her and Samantha walking, eating a soft pretzel, which, my God, I wish I could have one right now. Oh, I can't eat that anymore. I just can't. I'm gluten intolerant, but I miss it. And she's explaining to Samantha that, she doesn't like the fact that Big looks at other women. And Samantha's like, if that's the biggest problem you have, then girl, you should be happy. She goes, no, I mean, yes, I get it, but it really bothers me. And they're going on this, back and forth thing that, you know, she can't change a man. That's what Samantha's saying. It's like farting for them. Don't try to change them from looking at other women. I get it. Listen, there's a smorgasbord out there. I totally understand that. I could tell you how I combat it. I check out other men. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Mm-hmm. And I do it very blatantly. If the guy is doing it with me, I've dated this guy before. I've dated several guys like this before, where they just don't give a fairy rat's behind and they check out other women. I'm like, I got you. You do you, baby. As I'm phoning over other men. Needless to say, it doesn't work out. But I get my 2 cents into it without having to be verbal about it. Mm-hmm. So as she's going back and forth saying, I don't want to change him. I just want some alterations. Women can cajole and manipulate. Not a good sign. Please don't cajole and manipulate. Please, can you not be a stereotypical woman? It is what it is. Please don't cajole. Oh, cajoling. And Samantha's like, listen, that's a very dangerous thing. Because once you pull on that thread, everything else can fall apart. I like her. She's right. She's absolutely right. I mean, listen, either you can try to control and manipulate, you can pull on that thread and watch the house of cards come down, and then inevitably wake up and realize that this was not in your best interest and walk away, or you can stay on the river of the Nile and just figure out a way to control and manipulate him in a sense that you can start checking out other men. It could work either way. Next scene we have is now we have Miranda, who is asleep on her couch because now she has a new dating schedule because she works in the day as an attorney. She has a new apartment, and Steve, her boyfriend, is a bartender who is working at night. So as the doorbell rings, she habitually goes over and opens the door, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry you were asleep. She's dying. And honey, I know the feeling. This has happened to me before. It is not an easy thing. Okay. You cannot change either one of the schedules. You just can't. You have to be realistic in your situation. And it normally doesn't work out. So as she stumbles her way back to the couch and she hurts her foot, she's owing and oohing, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And, he rubs her feet, he kisses her feet, he tries to explain that it was a late night and that, a Japanese group of bankers came in and she's asleep. Next thing you have is it's morning, it's her time to go to work, and as she's trying to get out of bed, Steve is, of course, on a different schedule because as she's waking up to go to work, he's awake for a completely different reason. And of course, she tries to tell him that she needs to go to work, and he's like, not right now. And, they have relations in the boudoir, as Carrie narrates that the only thing that Miranda liked inside of her at that time in the morning was her cup of coffee on her way to work. The only thing I can tell you, girlfriend, is this. Enjoy it while it lasts. It sucks. You have different schedules. This is the honeymoon period. You literally need to figure out a schedule because it's not going to last. And I'm not talking about them. I'm just talking about in general. Know who you're dating. Realize your limitations because she's not going to change her work schedule. She's a freaking attorney and he can't change his schedule because he's a freaking bartender. Y'all need to come to some sort of middle ground because if you like it, you work with it. I would say it wouldn't work out, but I didn't know that back then. This is 1999, me talking. I was like, this is not going to last. It does. Next up, we get to meet Charlotte's new beau, the Sharpay. I was so pissed when I saw this, and I'll explain why. So, Charlotte and her new beau, the Sharpay. I don't know what his real name was. I can't remember. I just remembered the Sharpay. So, as she's in her boudoir with her new beau, some restaurateur who is famous for giving 5 whisks for any place that he visits, whatever the hell. They're laying down, and she's like, "Let's make love." And he's like, "Charlotte, you're a 5 whisks woman." I'm like, okay, cute. So as she starts digging around, she realizes that restaurateur 5 whisk guy is uncircumcised, and she is completely like caught in a deer in headlights. And she's like, "Oh." He's like, "What? I'm uncircumcised." She goes, "Huh, I guess they didn't make love, because the only thing that Charlotte has ever seen uncut is the uncut version of Gone with the Wind, which is literally what Carrie narrates, which, by the way, it's my favorite movie. I can I'm gonna leave that as my top one favorite movie of all times. I thought about going back and forth with other movies, but I can literally sit there and rewatch that over and over again. Clark Gable, what a man. What a handsome man that he was at that time. I like those old movies. So I appreciated that line. So the next up is my favorite scene when the ladies are out to brunch, and this is officially the cafe, the one that they spend the majority of the time, because I can tell from the lighting and the direction, and I love it. So Charlotte is complaining about the fact that she had so much skin, and she was so very disturbed. And Carrie's like, "Have you never seen an uncircumcised one?" She goes, "No, I'm from Connecticut." What the hell does that mean? Can someone from Connecticut explain this to me? And she is very upset because she doesn't like it. She thinks that it's aesthetically unpleasing and unhealthy, blah, 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 blah. And poor Samantha is like, "It's wonderful. It's like a Tootsie Pop, hard on the inside." What did she say? Hard on the outside, in the inside with a secret surprise, something like that. Samantha, that's all I got to tell you. She'll take it any which way she can get it. Miranda is, on Charlotte's side, saying that she doesn't like to have any surprises at all. Okay? Great. Got it. And Carrie's like, "Well, I heard that 85% of the men are uncircumcised." And Charlotte's like, "Great, they're taking over the world." And she's like, "Honey, it's a penis. It's not Godzilla." I completely agree with that. I didn't know it was 85%. I don't know if it's still 85% in, this year. But, you know, she is going on and on about how disappointed she is about the fact that he's not circumcised. And, Samantha's like, "Listen, she likes the uncircumcised men because they try harder. And she should know because she slept with at least 5 of them." And, Carrie's like, "Out of how many?" "Infinity." You got to give them credit, And, Miranda's saying that, "Hey, if 85% of the men are uncircumcised, that means I've only slept with 15% of the population." I've never seen someone do math so fast in my life. So I'm just going to interject before we go to the next scene, which is, the old, what is it? Old dog, new dicks. We covered new dicks. The Sharpay. Next will be Big, the old dog. How do you guys feel about circumcised and uncircumcised? I know it's a very touchy subject and everybody has their own feelings about it. Okay. Doesn't bother me. I've never even thought about it. Maybe because I was introduced to it way early in my youth, my juve, when I was having sex, and it never even came up at all. I mean, it came up, but it just like that. I've seen both, and the fact that it's never bothered me. Now, I have heard that some men don't take care of it very well and that you need to have some special cleaning. Since I don't have one, I don't know. So you ladies and the men that are watching, gently, respectfully, clean, explain me. What do you prefer? I really don't have a preference. It doesn't bother me unless there's something vehemently wrong in that area, which you will notice the minute that they unzip. It doesn't bother me at all. But I know there are people who do have a preference. I didn't know that there was such a strong preference like Charlotte and Miranda. My God. Are we already like insulting the penis now? That's like, okay, listen, it's not like, because our female parts, the JJs, come the way they are. Though I heard that you can actually change that as well. Please stop this madness. That's like a man insulting a woman that's private parts, that, it's uncontrollable. This is who you were born, what you were born with. With men is a little different. There is a choice. They can go cut or uncut. I get that. I totally understand that. But are we at the point that we're insulting our private parts now? My God. Can we not just appreciate the human body and the human form for what it is, whatever decision that we make? It's like the obsession of having that done, women changing their private area to look a different way, and the implants, which, everybody has their preference. And it's just, we have become so obsessed and not appreciate what has been given to us, what we were born with. In now there's some things that you need to change because of whatever reason you want to change it. But we are now sitting at a table talking about the difference between uncut and cut and how aesthetically pleasing it is. Like, I can't imagine a man watching this who's uncut and saying to himself, my Lord, what is happening here? I have never insulted a man for being either or. Ever. And I've never been with someone who has one uncut that has not been clean. Next up, we got Big and his roaming eyes that irritates the crap out of Carrie. Shocking. They do. Old dogs. Or should I say, Mr. Big. Hi, Mr. Big, señor de mi vida, coño carajo, puñeta. He is impossible sometimes, the way they write him. So, they're out on a date to celebrate absolutely nothing, Carrie and Big, at a restaurant. And as she is, trying to talk to him about some crap in her life, he's lighting up his cigar and checking out a woman that's walking by. Of course, because he doesn't know how to do things, overtly. He needs to do things right in front of your freaking face. I don't subscribe to the fact that men don't look at other women, as I noted. I do believe that there's a proper way to do it and a respectful way to do it if you have respect for the person that you're with. Hence, we know he doesn't. So she's like, okay. The waitress comes by as he's smoking his cigar, and she says, you can't smoke that here. And he's like, why? I checked the zoning on this table, and I understand that this is a cigar smoking zone. Trying to be flirty, cutesy, his arrogant way. And she's like, no, unfortunately, it's not, I don't mind, but it's for the other patrons. And he's like, these people? There's like 7 people in the restaurant. And he's like, okay. If I get them to agree, she goes, I really need you to stop. He gets up, he goes to the first table, and he tells them, today's my last day. I'm going to be executed tomorrow. And he points to Carrie, that's my parole officer. Do you mind if I smoke the cigar? Well, with a story like that, I mean, that's his last cigar meal. Great. He goes to the next table and he spews some bull crap. And he says, I want to preface this by saying that I'm buying a round of drinks for everybody, all 7 people in the restaurant, but he has the funds and the means to do it, so he's doing it. So they let him smoke his cigar, and he gets back to the table. He says, you see? And what Carrie is saying is that what she couldn't tell him is that he was being irritating to her, because she internalizes everything yet again. And he's like, you see, it worked out. And she goes, well, they're not going to tell you to your face that they don't like your cigar. He goes, well, good. She goes, you're very arrogant. He goes, I thought that's what you liked about me. I think he takes things to the extreme. So, as they're walking outside of the restaurant, Carrie is narrating. She's saying, maybe they're at the point of their relationship that all the wonderful little things that you like about the person has become now a liability. That person in her head that keeps trying to come out, but she keeps suffocating them. Her, it, whatever, the group. Herman's head. So as she stipulates this, then she says a huge liability walks out of a cab. Do you see this? She looks, let's not say what she, I don't know. All I know is that I even would have looked at her. I'm like, whoa, where you going, girl? Checking you out. But no, she gets upset and she pulls him. She goes, hey. And he's like, what? She goes, I don't like that you smoke a cigar. And he tosses it and he goes, you see? And you told me right to my face. He's playing her. He's playing her and he's pissing me off. Okay. So the next thing you have, she's in her apartment and she's rattling off in her narration that, New York City, we change everything. We change our hair. We change our politics. We change our friends at a drop of a minute. That's why they call it a New York minute, technically. You know what I mean? A New York minute. Ooh. I had to sing, right? So she is trying to figure out, and this is the part that stood out to me. She wants to understand how she can get big to pay attention to her. And I say this because instead of she's saying she's trying to get big to stop noticing other women, how she can get big to notice her only. Do you see that? That's a very important statement because there's a difference between him noticing other women and him paying attention to her. So as she writes, she's saying, can you change a man? And you know what I love? The taglines that get spread out because then we get this one. This one is stipulating that her husband used to watch the sports channel all the time until she started fooling around with his best friend. And now he only watches her. What? What? Hmm? That stopped me in my track. Okay. Then we get this one. Typical. Every girlfriend he's ever had wants to change him, change his friends, his job, his attitude. And the only thing he's ever done was change girlfriends. Sure. I would do the same, I guess. And then I get the favorite one, short and sweet. These two. The plate spinner. Oh my God, I was dying. Okay. He's spinning plates and the woman turns around and she just says, no. Oh my God. It was hilarious. This is what I love about this show. They just bring in these little vignettes that just make you really stand out and pay attention and be like, what do you mean that your husband is not only watching you while you're fooling around with your friend? What the hell are you talking about? What's happening? And by the way, the coining of the phrase of Sharpay was Charlotte in the restaurant scene. So I just want to make sure I tied that in because she called him a Sharpay. I'm very disturbed by this. Okay. I thank this show for giving me the next few weeks, my God, months of joy and laughter. Because as I rewatched it, because I remember I watched it in 1999 and I didn't know what was coming, and then I rewatched it alone several times. I am so happy that I can bring this to you guys and tell you the parts that I enjoyed and made me laugh. And I hope they make you laugh too. And we can all band together and really have some joy in our lives because there's a lot of stuff going on out there that sometimes we just need a good laugh and just, recenter ourselves. And this, at least we know it's still out there with other great shows that I rewatch. And I'm still laughing because I'm legitimately, this show is hysterical. Jenny Biggs, good job. Next up, we get to find out what happens to the Sharpay and when he makes a decision that was more disturbing than the fact that he's a Sharpay. Charlotte and the Sharpay. As they're walking home to Charlotte's apartment after having dinner, he asks her if he can come upstairs, and she says no, I'm tired and my place is a mess. Then why the hell did you go to dinner with him if you knew for a fact that you were not going to continue this relationship? I really hate that. And maybe because I have a son, but come on, let's be realistic. Don't be wasting time on someone that you know for sure that you're not going to be with and then have him take you out to dinner on top of that. It's just disrespectful. And yes, it's because I have a son and I tell him, don't let these women abuse you. Sorry. So he's like, listen, I'm already used to this. I had this reaction to my situation by many women before. And she goes, oh, really? Okay. This is like really dramatic. And he's like, yes. So I've made a decision. I'm getting circumcised. And she's like, can you do that? And he's like, yes, it's painful and the healing takes a long time, but I've made that decision. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, do you mind waiting? She goes, no, absolutely not. Check the paperwork, Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Because I thought that this was pretty profound as well until we get to the reason why he's doing this for real, which will come up later. So they hug and she's like, Carrie narrates, maybe Samantha was wrong. Maybe you can change a man. An inch and a half at a time. What the hell? And I know I've heard this before. Men have done this. I can't imagine. When he says painful in that region, I just know that that can't be good. Next scene, we have Miranda, who's getting her morning wake up call from Steve, horizontally in the boudoir. And, as they're narrating that, I guess it's Saturday. So she needs to, they're finished and she needs to get up and get her day's errands done, which, he's like, come on, stay here. And he grabs her and he wants to cuddle. And she's like, so how long do you want to cuddle? He's like, you want a time frame for cuddling? She's like, yeah. What, like 20 minutes? He's like, what? She goes, I respond to limits. I need to know how long you need to cuddle. He goes, you want a time frame for cuddling? She goes, yes. I'm like, oh my God. And she starts to pull away and she says, listen, Saturday is my free day. It's the day that I go and I pick up my dry cleaning. I, get my nails done and I do my grocery shopping for the week. Groceries where? Because I never seen her cook. I don't know. I presume maybe cheese, milk. I don't know. Staples in the pantry. I never see them cook. And he's like, that doesn't sound very freeing to me. And she tries to get out of bed. She comes back and she says, do you want to come with me to pick up my dry cleaning? He's like, no. She goes, of course not. And she says, okay, listen, 1 hour tops. So she gets back into bed with him. And 12 hours later, they're at a drag queen bingo bar. Try to say that 3 times fast. And I can only presume that they added this scene to give Samantha some context in this show. So as they're going through the drag queen bingo, Miranda's complaining that, she had a lot of things to do today and that, she missed her spinning class. And Carrie's like, why do you need to spin if you're having sex? Good point. And she's like, but, this is killing me. This schedule is killing me. And she's like, I don't know how to handle it. And Charlotte's like, well, maybe, if you really like the guy, you just need to change. And Carrie's like, what? She goes, and Miranda's like, why do I need to change? And Carrie's like, yeah, you're right. Why do we need to change? Big won't even stay in my place because, nobody asked. And we're right back to circling back to Carrie and her problem because we went from him roaming his eye to everyone else to him not wanting to stay in her apartment. I don't know how the two connect, but she made a connection, obviously. And Charlotte's like, well, that's because we can change easier. We're more adaptable. We are. We accept the things that we shouldn't accept, and we don't listen to the little people that are in our head all the time. So as bingo is going, okay, all of a sudden, Samantha's asking for a new bingo card, and this guy shows up. Apparently, he's like, Samantha? And she's like, yes. He's like, I want to say Brad. He pulls up his wig. And I don't know if that was supposed to make her recognize him. And she's like, oh my God. Apparently he was someone that she dated in her past, hockey player. And she's like, oh, when did you become, he goes, oh, a few years ago, after you and I broke up. I'm like, oh. And, we have Carrie telling Miranda, well, no. What she asked, Samantha asked him, well, oh, how are the kids? Oh, they're great. One of his kids in second grade. So Carrie turns to Miranda and says, I want to say Brad. Brad's kids had two mommies. I thought that was hysterical considering where we go in it just like that. Hmm. And apparently, afterwards, one of the other owners or persons at the bingo says, Samantha, there are other people who want bingo cards. And Samantha looks at him. She goes, Samantha? He goes, yes. You know what they say? Imitation is the best form of flattery. Bye. Apparently, he mimicked his entire lifestyle after he broke up with her to look like Samantha. Now, I didn't see it. Not even after he said it. I didn't see the Samantha connection. But I guess that was the flattery part. Help me out here, people. I was very confused. Okay? And she turns around. She goes, I am so much more prettier than him. What? Okay. Thank you, Jenny. I don't know what was the purpose of putting this in because we never delve into this ever again. It never comes back again, but it gave Samantha the best lines again. Next up, Sugar Ray Leonard has appeared into the show in the form of Carrie and Mr. Big. You'll see. Guess what? They do. And when you get a chance, you know what my favorite line is, right? Subscribe. Sugar Ray has appeared. As Carrie is narrating, she's done with the, bingo, and she's waiting for Big in the vestibule hallway of his apartment complex, pacing back and forth, and that, it was 2 hours after her soiree with the girls, and Big was a half hour late, so it's 2.5 hours. Big comes in and he apologizes for being late, and she's like, I've been waiting here, and I've been waiting here for you. And he's like, well, you could have waited around the corner at a coffee shop in. What? You want the woman that you're with, not just sleeping with, remember, this is his girlfriend, to wait at a coffee shop around the corner for you? All right, now I'm drawing the line now. And she's like, listen, I'm going to go home. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, why don't you come over to my place? Oh, no. She says, why don't you just give me a key? And he's like, a key? Mm-hmm. She goes, yes, so I can wait inside. Or you can come over to my place. You could easily pick my locks. Good to know. New York City, townhouse, Upper West Side, technically, in the show, but it's not. You could easily pick your locks. That's great. And he's like, but I like my bed. If she didn't understand what she was getting herself into then, she will never understand what she's getting herself into, ever. Okay? And the elevator opens and he cajoles her into the elevator as she hesitatingly goes in there. And then it's the evening and they're in bed and she narrates that something's also changed, that neither one of them wanted to make love, and that she was half asleep and contemplating the fact was what Big giving her was enough for her ever. Oh, 1999, I was so naive. And then she got her answer at 3 a.m. in the morning while he pushes her off the bed. And she screams, he turns on the light, and he's like, Carrie, she cold clocks him in the eye. Oh my God, even I heard that. And he's like, holy F, what the hell? And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but you don't even realize that I'm in the bed with you and you threw me off the bed. And he's like, well, I know now. Why don't you just break my freaking arm next time? And he decides that he's going to get up and he goes, all right, Sugar Ray. I was rolling on the floor. I still laugh when I hear him say that. She goes, where are you going? I'm going to sleep on the couch. She's like, but wait, let me explain. He goes, no, no, talking, not good. She cold clocked him. And I didn't realize the girth of it until later, but that was not fun. So, as he's on the couch, she's made the decision at 4 a.m. in the morning that she can't sleep, so neither can he. So she gets him one of those, things to put ice, and she's dripping the ice water over his face because that's going to help with the pain. And he wakes up and she's like, this is ice for your face. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then she goes into her monologue. Listen, I know that I don't have a lot of power right now. When did you have power? Carrie, when did you ever have the power? Did I miss that episode? Can you go back and check for me? And she goes, most women magazines say, and I'm like thinking to myself, now, I remember those women's magazines, okay? They were annoying as crap. Cosmo? Oh my God. If I ever wanted to have any issue resolved in my mind, Cosmopolitan brought it out. It was a Sex in the City for magazines. It really was. It still is. Is it still on? Yeah, I think so. I think once in a while when I go to the supermarket, I see it on the market thingy. If you want to change this, if you want to do this, how do you get a man? How do you not get a man? Oh my God, it's so annoying. So she has made the decision that she has to tell him why she cold clocked him. And it was not about the cigar the other night. And he's like, it's never about the cigar. She goes, I don't like the fact that you look at other women. I don't like the fact that I don't have a key to your apartment. And I don't like the fact that nothing's changed in our relationship. I feel that I am back in your life and nothing has changed. And he's like, okay, still in the deer headlights. And she says, I just want something to change for me. Got it. And he says, violence is never the answer. Oh my God. So she's like, I'm going to go. So as she starts to walk away, she comes back and she goes, hey, listen, I know there's things about me that you don't like. And he's like, I'm not going to fall for that. That's a seasoned man. That's a seasoned man. He knows his shit. Okay. And she turns around and she narrates, that's what I like about Big. He knows when to shut up. That's what you think that he was doing? You're still in denial, girlfriend. Where are the people in your head? This whole scene was ridiculous in the sense that she has made the decision that she has to tell him why she cold cocked him, which I'm glad she did. Not in that way, but I'm glad she did. But at the end, does she get what she wants? Kind of, sort of, maybe, but not for a long time. Okay, next scene. We have Charlotte and the Sharpay. The Sharpay has finished his surgery of circumcision, and she asks, was it painful? And he says, from a scale of 1 to 5, he goes, a 72. Ow. Ow. She's like, oh my God, how much more time do you need to heal? And he's like, oh, by another week or so. I don't know how much time has passed. I don't know anything about this procedure. I don't know what the hell is going on. All I know is that I felt bad if this was my son. Okay. And she's like, I can't wait. And he goes, oh, Charlotte, I want to be with you so badly. And they start to make out. And apparently the Sharpay that was cut made an appearance, and it was so painful that he's owing. And he's like, go, just go. It's so bad that he can't even be kissed because he gets excited for this procedure. Now, if there's any men or anybody that knows this from a man's perspective, I can only imagine it is that bad because I've seen this on babies and I hear the screaming, and that is traumatizing enough as a parent. Not that there's not anything wrong with it. You do it. That's great. They don't remember it. Perfect. But he remembers it. He's an adult. Ow. Poor Sharpay. The things that they do for love. Check the paperwork, Charlotte. Check the paperwork. Next up, we do the dance of the seduction for Miranda and Steve. You think it turns out well? Of course not. It wouldn't be Sex in the City if it did. Miranda and her window of seduction. So she is lighting the candles and she's waiting for Steve, totally caffeined up. It's 2 a.m. Steve comes. She opens the door and he's like, "Oh my God, you look amazing." And she goes, "I've had 5 cups of coffee and I'm ready to go." Uh, First of all, 5 cups of coffee. That's a heart attack. I could take two, and that's only in the morning. Girl, that's a lot, just so you know. So she says to him, "Meet me in the bedroom, and I'll bring the wine." And he's like, "Yeah, baby." So as she goes into the bedroom, all seductively with her wine, Steve is sleeping. And she's fed up. She's had it. Miranda is done. She's like, "Wake up. I think that you should go spend the night in your place." And he's like, "But why?" She says, "Because I don't want to have to worry about waking up and having sex in the morning." And he's like, "You don't want to have sex with me in the morning?" She goes, "No, I love it. It's just that I would like to be able to do it at night like all other normal homo sapiens." Full stop. That's BS. Because we all don't only have sex at night. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've had sex different times of the day. Okay. Not everybody has sex at night. Again, partly because of this situation, scheduling. And, the reality is you get it when you can and when you can. Hello. So he's like, "Oh, come on, we could do it now." She goes, "No, I had a window of time and that was a half hour ago." And he's like, "You had a window for sex?" She goes, "Yes." He's like, poor Steve. She's like, "Yes, and I want to get some rest tonight." He goes, "Listen, she says, "I'm a lawyer. I get tired." He goes, "Well, I'm a bartender and I get tired of everybody's neurosis." This is where Steve starts to show that he has a little bit of balls. Does it go throughout the entire series and relationship? It goes in and out, but he's not so, how could I put it? He doesn't fall for the crap of Miranda a lot of times, which is what changes her, to be honest with you. So he gets up, he goes, "Listen, do me a favor. When you have a whole window pane or door for sex, give me a call." And he walks out. Good for you, Steve. So as Carrie narrates, that Miranda has never felt so um, unlucky as a lawyer, because even though she won the case, she was left with all damages. Little corny, but cute. I got it. Next scene, the Sharpay. So it's finally a week and they're about to, have relations, Charlotte and the Sharpay. And she opens up the gift and it's like what Carrie says. Charlotte felt like this was Christmas and her birthday all wrapped up. And she goes, "Oh my God, it's beautiful." Really? Really? And he's like, "This makes me a virgin." Oh my God. Check the paperwork, Charlotte. And she's like, "I'll be gentle." So they have their relations and he's like, afterwards, he's like, they're cuddling. He goes, "That was amazing." And she starts to ask him what their plans are for Saturday. And he's like, "Saturday? Do we have plans for Saturday?" She goes, "Yes, I thought we can go to one of the benefits or we can stay in low key, rent a video." And he's like, "Hold up, back at the truck up. I don't want to make this a big thing." She's like, "A big thing?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, she asked, "Well, what does that mean?" He goes, "Well, I want to be able to go out there and, you know, share myself." She goes, "You want to share your penis?" He goes, "Uh, yeah." And she's like, "What?" He goes, "I think that I should go out and take my dog out for a walk." And you wonder why women get crazy. As Carrie narrates that she never saw him again, and she says that you can take the sharp pay out of the penis, but you can't take the dog out of the man. And this is why some men don't understand women. What the hell do you mean you want to take a dog out for a walk? You woof. There's no words to say. Great writing, again. We were laughing our asses off because there is a lot of, not even some truth. When I say we, my girlfriends, there's a lot of truth to that. It doesn't have to specifically be with a Shar-Pei. Okay. And let's just talk about the Shar-Pei for a second. None of my girlfriends, the two that were with me, resonated with this as well. We were not anti-cut or cut people ourselves. We can go either way. So this whole thing, and they had, yeah, one of them had a boy. I had my son. And we were just looking at them, and we did understand the whole religious aspect of it for those who want to do it and people who want to do it for whatever reason why they want to do it. But we're not crazy. Not when it comes to that. Not when it comes to other than the religious reasons for it, which respectfully, I do respect that. But oh my God. Next up. Sugar Ray goes into negotiations with Mr. Big. And we get a blue moon. When I'm not going to sing, I promise, until we get to that scene. Stay tuned. Sugar Ray and Mr. Big. So as Carrie is sitting in her chair at her home, she narrates that maybe she can change a man into not calling her. So apparently Big hasn't called her in a while. And as true to form, the door knocks and it's Mr. Big with the biggest black eye I've ever seen on a man. I can't imagine what he told his friends, how he got that. And she's like, oh my God. He's like, look at that. He's like, no, you look at it. I've been looking at it all week. mm-hmm. He's like, ha ha ha, don't touch the face. She drags him in and he says, listen, I came over to tell you something. And she's like, are you going to sue me? He goes, no. Maybe you need a key to tell you how crazy I am about you. But here's the thing. I've given out like 5 keys and you never get them back. And, maybe I do hog my bed, but it's my bed and I like you in it. She's like, wow, I should hit you more often. And he goes, the oranges. I don't like the fact that you eat oranges in my bed. She goes, what? That's the only thing? He goes, yeah, they're sticky and they make my sheets smell and I like my sheets. Okay. He goes, full stop. Before we even get into the next scene. First of all, how is she eating these oranges in the bed? I'm very confused about this. Are you just taking them and not using like a napkin or a paper plate or a cup or something, and then you're just spreading the oranges all over the bed? Like, how is that possible that you're eating oranges in the bed and you make the bed sheets stink and they're sticky? What are you wiping yourself on? What? I didn't understand that at all. There's a decorum of how you eat in bed. And I don't think it's that you're just, opening the orange and throwing the peels on the bed. This is what I'm envisioning. Okay. And it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't, for some reason. So he's like, yeah. And she goes, well, what are you going to give me for the oranges? He goes, oh, a negotiation? She goes, yeah. He goes, well, this may take all night. I may have to stay over. So she got her way. He stays over and they're in bed and she's eating oranges in her own bed. Yet I don't see any kind of cups, paper plates, napkins. As she narrates that fundamentally she doesn't think that, he will change, but at the very minimum, they're talking about it. So that's progress. And then she has the balls to say the next day her sheets stunk like cigar and she changed them right away. And when I say cojones, bolas, have you seen her smoking? You're going to tell me that the smoking of the cigarettes in her bed, in her room, in her bathroom, in her kitchen, upside down as a bat, everywhere, inside, outside, everywhere, does not stink up her own sheets, but the cigar does? I find that very hard to swallow. I'm sorry, but I do. And listen, I'm a little partial to cigars because I do like the smell of cigars, and I know they're very strong, but they're just as strong as cigarettes. Whatever. Now, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. I told you I was going to sing it because the next thing we have is Miranda. It's 2 a.m. She is not sleeping because she misses her Steve. And the phone rings, and guess who it is? It's Steve. And she's like, hi. He goes, I didn't mean to wake you. She goes, I've been up. And he's like, do me a favor, go to the window. And she goes to the window, she opens the curtain, she goes, what am I looking at? He goes, look up. And it's the most beautiful blue moon, fake as it may be. And I've seen it in real time, beautiful. And he goes, I just wanted to show you. She goes, oh my God, it's amazing. He goes, it's a blue moon. It's very rare. And she looks up as Carrie narrates. That is the moment that Miranda has decided to slow down. I'm going to start tearing up. I'm going to tear up, just forewarning. And she tells him, when you're done, come on over. And the next scene you have is that not only did Steve come over, they made love at night, which is what she wanted, and again in the morning, and she was an hour late for work. And as Carrie narrates, maybe you may not be able to change a man, but every once in a blue moon, you can change a woman. And you wonder why so many of us were upset about the reboot and what happened to them. Do you see this? These are the kind of love stories that you want to know. These are the kind of love stories that you want to believe in. These are the kind of stories that made this show what it was. This is not the epilogue, because next up, epilogue. Stay tuned. Epilogue. Listen, Jenny Bix, good job. It brought up some subjects that I never talked about with my friends. Sharpay. I didn't understand the whole Samantha and the storyline they tried to give her. I guess they tried to give her something because, again, they never went back and explained any of that. It was just some guy she dated that decided to give her the best form of imitation. So I guess we're never going to see that again. So that was a really dead issue. So it was more focused on Charlotte this time and her still quest for a relationship and still not checking the paperwork, because that whole stupid storyline about him wanting to take his dog out for a walk around the corner was typical. But, they have to put in stories that are pretty much believable and unbelievable. The connection, the best two storylines were, of course, big. I think he's full of crap in the sense that I didn't know what was going to happen at that time in 1999. But then I started realizing at that moment when he made the decision to sleep over, I was like, okay. It didn't occur to me that every time I saw the credits, he was always a guest star. Chris North was always a guest star. He was never a permanent fixture in the show. So there was always times that I thought that why is he continuously just a guest star? He never became part of the group. But this was the moment when I realized that, though his speech about giving out 5 keys, so we're just going to skip over that. We're not going to acknowledge the fact that, he's put her in a bucket, not in the same as the 5 keys that he'd given. So he's tried this before and he's not willing to give her a key, though he's been in this relationship for over 2 years now, I'm going to say, and that he calls her his girlfriend and he wants her to stay around the corner at a coffee shop because he gives out keys and he never gets them back. But he hugs his bed, but he likes her in it and that he's willing to stay the night and they're all lovey-dovey. And I'm like, okay, so he's trying. So I let it go, the whole speech and the fact that she accepted that and never questioned, hey, this is 5 keys. I am not one of those girls. I'm your girlfriend. That's what I would have said. But that's fine. She got what she wanted somewhat, though the whole bullcrap about the cigar and the sheets was just unfathomable to me. That I still don't understand how she eats the freaking oranges. Like, what are you, a pig? Like, I don't understand that. But the one that was more moving was Steve and Miranda. Because when you look at it, this is when, out of the downfall that happens inevitably, people, the fans, were rooting for them, right? Because every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, you can change a woman. And that was the whole purpose of the Miranda arc in the entire series, right? Because she was the cynic. She was she flip flopped between wanting to be in a relationship and being married and having kids. And, we see that because they're just trying to find their footing, right? The show is trying to find their footing. But they pretty much took a really hard stance on Miranda when it came to her feelings about relationships. So the way that they developed her into falling for Steve despite all odds, because that's really what it is about. It's all odds. And it's not so much about changing a man. It's about changing a cynical person. And that will be Miranda, was the whole moving part about the relationship with Steve. And yes, these are characters. This is a story. And we all followed through. We all were, rooting for them, even when it was on the movie and they made the decision to move on, like we talked about in the other episode. How it played out in the reboot was so sad because it probably happens more often than not. But I think they could have addressed it in a much more sincere way. I would have loved to have seen the development of her lesbianism, and how she felt about it. Not that just snap, I'm a lesbian, I'm going to throw my entire relationship, even though I have a kid, and then still stay in the house and then throw him under the bus about the house and the fact that it's under her name and that what has he done for her lately when he was the one that convinced her to buy the house for him and the family, created that entire infrastructure by hand himself and dedicated his life to her after they made the decision that they were going to get over the fact that she wasn't having sex with him and he cheated on her. Okay. At the very minimum, put as much thought into that storyline as we have followed with this. This is what I'm saying. The people that were writing for And Just Like That didn't care about the history. And if you're going to make a good story, if you're going to make someone cry, which for me could be very easy, but nonetheless, we were there. Have some presence of mind to be like, how can we satisfy Cynthia Nixon and introduce her lesbianism the way she wishes, still make the relationship with Steve and her make sense and why it dissipated throughout the years, not just a snap judgment of with Che, and introduce some new storylines of how things like this can happen and give us some girth, help us follow through this. Let us mourn the relationship that they had, but appreciate where she wanted to go in her life, because no one is saying that she needed to stay the way she was. A lot of people flip. I know too, myself, and they're in very happy lesbian relationships right now, but they were with men. They had kids with men, and I have met straight, well, they were never straight, right? Men, they were gay, latent, and they came out and they changed from being with women to men. So that whole thing has happened, but it's the way that you tell a story that engages people, that makes people sit back and be like, okay, the moving parts of it. There was no moving parts of it and Just Like That. It was just shove it in your face, down your throat, move on, get over it. And that's what was so upsetting and Just Like That. You cannot keep these two shows together and have the same players, almost the same writer, executive producers, and then just throw a hodgepodge of storylines that go nowhere, that don't even make any continuity respect to the original series. Because we're going to get deeper into this, and this is going to come up again. So I'm going to repeat myself again. How this connects to And Just Like That, it doesn't. That's the reason why we're all here. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And there is no one to blame but the people who are involved. And we, the fans, who sat through this for 3 seasons, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. Because maybe in 2 years, this will pop off. And maybe somebody will come back and visit this and be like, yeah, I get it now. So I hope this one brought some emotional impact to you as well as it did to me. I didn't cry. Almost did. My eyes are watery. I go back to thanking everyone who is following me, sharing, liking, comment, subscribe, please. I really want to hit a target of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I can't do it without you guys. Just so you know, I'm not monetized. I'm doing this all for free. And as much as I'm enjoying this, the reality is this is a lot of work. And I don't expect any compensation from any of you, but I do expect some type of recognition from the YouTube monetization program to help me continue to do this and grow and give you more content and get something out of it as well for my time and my effort. For you guys who don't know, one of these videos, even though it's an hour for you, it takes 7 hours to edit, and that's time. And I want to continue doing this, but there comes a point where I need to face reality, where we're going to go with this. And as much as I love to stay with you guys, I need to face reality as well. So whatever you can do to push this algorithm, share with your friends, like, comment, engage, however it is, my thank you. That's my thank you from you guys, because it's from the heart and I appreciate it. And I want to grow this community because I know that there's other people out there that have their own versions and visions. And I want people who have never watched the show, who are trying to get into it right now, start getting involved with us, because a lot of the people that are involved in this show, in this community, are OG watchers and they know what's coming. There's a lot of people who don't. So let's try to bring these people in and see what their versions and their vision is for this time, 2025. So thank you again, everyone. I appreciate and respect your time so greatly. And that's why I do this with so much love in my heart for you all, because it comes from my heart. So have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed week, day from here to around the world. Goodbye. Mwah.